Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV, and I'm joined by Bernard Deneen from the Citizen Channel. How you doing, Bernard?
Yeah, I think I'm from the Magpie channel with that in the background at
I
the
was
moment. The
about to,
Magpie
I was
channel, but
about to
you got
comment.
you
It's
got
all
to be
black and white.
appropriate, haven't you, for what we're doing? So why not?
Yeah. You got the black and white Manchester City old crest. That program, it looks like a Newcastle player on the front of that program.
They're all
United
Newcastle
stuff.
programs. There's three Newcastle programs. Look, there's
Dear me. No City stuff.
that one at the top is the first time we played them in the Premier League at their place.
All right, that was a long time ago. Yeah, guys, we're here. We're here to talk about the league game. City are playing against Newcastle. Is that how you say it? Newcastle.
Away the lads.
Away the lads.
More
Playing against Newcastle in the league. At this stage of the season, everything is a must-win game for us.
They're going through game for them, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going through a really bad patch. And as luck would have it, as they're going through their bad patch, because they've had a lot of injuries, the better players are coming back. Like, we saw the other week, Sven Botman was back. So Newcastle getting a few players back. They're languishing. And it's true, languishing. They're that bad. They're behind Man United in the league. They're ninth in the league with 29 points. And Eddie Howe's under a bit of pressure because, you'd assume their owners want to do a bit better than ninth. Just to get to the Champions League positions, it ain't happening for me. They've got 18 games to catch up 11 points on City and Arsenal, who are third and fourth. So I think that's going to be very difficult. And Spurs are on 39 points, so they're still 10 points behind them. It's going to have to be a remarkable finish to the season. It's not beyond possibilities. But how do you judge Newcastle's first half of the season, Bernard, in the league?
They've been incredibly unlucky, haven't they? They have been incredibly unlucky. Obviously, that first game against Villa, they got off to a flyer. And then they did okay, didn't they? But is it six out of 7 they've lost now?
Yeah.
Or certainly 5 out of 6. You can't lose. We know ourselves. If you start dropping points in the Premier League, you just plummet. You plummet down the table. It doesn't necessarily mean if you win the next 5 out of 6, you got to move up. But it doesn't mean you'll move up at the same pace that you fell down. So I think Eddie Howe's an unusual one, isn't it? I always thought he was an in-betweener anyway. I always thought they'd probably want a bigger European name at some stage. But obviously he needs to stay in those European places. And of course, top 4 seemed highly likely 5 or 6 weeks ago, not so much now. And that's a problem. And it only takes, as you say, ourselves, look at us. We were drawing games instead of winning, and it started looking bad. But we've managed to claw ourselves back into it. And that's what Newcastle need to do. They need to somehow claw themselves back into it. And what a better way than to beat us on Saturday night.
Absolutely. I'm just looking through some of their results and trying to work out what went wrong. Now, if you go back to the beginning of October, it's a long way back, but they beat PSG 4-1 at their place. They were on a high. Following that, they drew 2-2 at West Ham. Nothing wrong with that. West Ham were 6th or something. Then they beat Palace 4-0. And I think when it's the wobbles, some of the wobbles started. They lost to Borussia Dortmund at home 1-0. Then they drew with Wolves 2-2 away. I still don't think that's a bad result. They beat United 3-0 away in the Carabao Cup. Then a top result for them. They beat Arsenal 1-0 up in Newcastle. And it looked like, they were still doing okay. And then I think they got some mixed results. So they lost to Borussia Dortmund 2-0, put them under pressure in the Champions League. Lost to Bournemouth 2-0. Okay, Bournemouth were on the up. They beat Chelsea 4-1. They drew away at PSG 1-1. That was unlucky, that PSG game, when they got diddled. That eventually ended up helping to cost them in the Champions League. They beat United 1-0, but then they lost to Everton 3-0. They lost to Spurs 4-1. They lost at home to AC Milan in the Champions League. They managed to beat Fulham. They lost to Chelsea in the Carabao Cup on penalties. They lost to Luton away. And then, I mean, that was bad enough. They lost to Forest at home after leading. They got battered by Liverpool. Okay, they've just beaten Sunderland, but Sunderland are no great shakes in the Championship. So in the FA Cup, they beat them. So they've been on a really, really poor run. And as you say, they've been dropping down the league. Having a few losses is very, very difficult to stem that flow. But I think now they've got the players, but I don't think that's going to be enough. They've lost a lot of.
They've got bench at the moment. That's the problem. They've got a good starting 11, or they can put a half decent starting 11 together. But with these injuries he's got, Linton hurt himself against Sunderland, didn't he? So he's going to be out. Thankfully, dirty thug anyway he is. So he's going to be out by the looks of it. So, but yeah, the bench isn't great. That's the problem. They can't change. This is the problem. They can't change things if things aren't going right, particularly because they just don't have that experience on the bench. So, as long as we take the game by the scruff of the neck and do what we should do, then that'll put them. We'll do them. Simple as that. But if we cow down to them and go a couple of goals behind, I just don't know.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say before you told me about Joe Linton that they've got Sven Botman and Joe Linton coming back. They've got some players coming back. Trippier's back, I think.
Yeah, he came back last week. Yeah.
So Trippier and Botman, that's going to help their defense. I mean, their defense was pretty good. The reason
I think they missed the keeper. I don't think this is it Dubrav. I can't remember his name. He's not. I think they missed Pope. I like Pope. Wastes a lot of time, but that's his job. But, I quite like him. So they have struggled, as you said, defensively. They're letting goals in. This is why I'm hoping Haaland is back, but I doubt it. We've got to make sure we put our chances away.
I mean, I was going to mention Botman because he's always been in my fantasy football team because Newcastle have been so good at the back. I went through a stage where I had Botman and Trippier because Trippier gets lots of assists. They were keeping a few clean sheets. Botman pops up with the odd goal. But to lose Joe, I think Joe Linton was a big loss. And like you say, you're totally right. Not having a strong enough bench, not to be able to, not to have the opportunity to call upon senior players. And they went through a stage where they had to play 6 or 7 games, starting with the same 11. That little kid, Miley, who actually did very well. I mean, I could not tell you if I don't think Pep has ever played the same team for 6 games on the bounce. And that tells you something, especially with that sort of, with the Christmas period, with the Champions League, playing every 3 days. You can't, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And, Newcastle have eventually come a cropper. Do you think there's any pressure on Eddie Howe? How much pressure do you, I think there is, but so I'll rephrase the question. How much pressure is he under?
Yeah, I think I can't see him do it. I mean, I don't think he's under pressure this season. I don't see them do anything stupid this season. They may take stock at the end of the season, but at the end of the day, you say if they don't get in, if Eddie Howe doesn't get him into a European spot of some sort, who are they going to encourage to come there anyway? That's the problem. I mean, remember all the January windows over the last 2 or 3 seasons where Newcastle linked with everybody, but now they can't do that. They haven't even got that option, have they, anymore? So they're stuck with what they got. The thing is, the fact that they are out of these cups now, they're just obviously still in the FA Cup. Hopefully this game is too soon for him, but hopefully they'll be able to get players back and get rested. Yeah. So Eddie Howe can play a similar sort of 11 like he's had to. But obviously, hopefully this is one game too far for him, and it'll be after we've played them that they got Villa away, I think, the next game after us. So, but they do get a couple of weeks break. So, yeah, as long as they're not playing too many games, which they're not, you might move them slightly up the league and be okay. But I can't see Eddie Howe getting rid of Eddie Howe this season.
See, the problem for Newcastle is they're going through a slower process to what we did when we got taken over because FFP wasn't implemented at that point, and we got a chance to front load ourselves with a lot of players, a lot of shit players, or not good enough players like Rocky Santa Cruz and Wayne Bridge and a few others. So they're going through that process, but because it doesn't matter how rich your owners are, because of FFP, you're limited to what you can spend. Now, Newcastle's fortunes are changing because they've got some sponsors from Saudi Arabia. That's going to help bring money in. The Champions League run this year is going to help bring money in. I don't know what it's going to be, but they'll get the TV money. They'll get at least 30 million quid from the Champions League, maybe 40 million quid. Something like that. I have no idea, but it'll be in the tens of millions from this Champions League run. So that's going to benefit them as well as the gate money and all that. So that's going to help them with their finances. But not getting into Europe next season, certainly not. I can't see them getting into the Champions League. But getting to the Europa League is still worth 20 or 30 million, maybe a little bit more, depending how far you go. So how do Newcastle get around this potential issue of not having the FFP money, basically, to be able to buy and sell, or to buy new players? There is one way around it, is to either sell an academy player for big money. If they, and I'm not suggesting they're going to do this, if they sold Miley for 60 million quid, that's 60 million profit in their accounts. That sorts them out for FFP. That allows them to go out and spend money. There's talk that PSG are interested in Bruno Guimaraes. Okay. Now, if they could sell him for 100 million, I think the profit would be whatever, 50 million quid on him, whatever it is. That, again, allows them to go out and spend money. It's been rumoured that Chelsea are looking at selling maybe Conor Gallagher for the same reason, for FFP reasons, that allows them to go out and buy maybe Ivan Toney or a new striker, because of the way it works. If they paid 80 million for Ivan Toney and put him on a 5-year contract, it only impacts them 80 divided 5, 16 million a year, plus his wages. Let's say his wages are whatever. Let's say he's on 200 grand a week. That's 10 million. So it's only impacting them at somewhere in the region of 25, 26 million a season. So if they sell Conor Gallagher, who's an academy product, they'll make a profit. It will cover their FFP issues if they wanted to get Toney. And Newcastle could do the same. But the risk is if Newcastle, I suggest you, the risk is if Newcastle do the same and sell someone like Miley, the fans will go bonkers. Sell someone like Guimaraes, fans will go bonkers. It will hold them back. But sometimes you might have to do that to move forward. But can you see them selling any of their main stars?
No, I think when this takeover came in, it wasn't. We just knew it wasn't going to be the same as ours, as you said, because certain restraints weren't there initially when we did it, and you just knew they had to take a bit more time overdoing things. And I think the success of getting into the Champions League so quickly, I think it's muddied the waters a little bit. It's made them expect a little bit more. Certainly the fans are expecting more already. And I thought it was more a 5-10 year project rather than 2 or 3 years, which is what has happened. They were fortunate to get Eddie Howe. He did a great job. Not the greatest players. I mean, he did a fantastic job, but it was bound to either level out or start dropping, and that's what's happening. It was bound to happen. So obviously now there is impatience. There will be impatience in the fans, although most of them will probably be loyal and still stand by them. But there'll be it's hard. It's hard now because that 5 or 10 year thing is suddenly looked. Oh, we could do it quicker, and it's a bit like Swales in the old days when Swales just threw money at things because we were catching up United on crowds who were doing well. We got within 5,000 or 6,000 average crowds of United, and he sort of pushed it rather than do it. He wanted it there and then. And Newcastle, unfortunately, because of the success of last season, which was a success, they wanted it, and now it's gone off again. So it's all. I mean, I have no answer to it, but that's the reason. I think it happened too quickly, and they're going to have to take a step back, and the fans are going to have to take a step back and start building again. Eddie Howe's we've proved he's a good manager. With the talent he's had, so just start. It's hard to say start from scratch, but you've got to plan something. They must have a plan. They must have a 5, 7, 10 year plan. Yeah. And the board will know, the people will know whether they're working to it, and they were lucky last season, but it's a matter of keeping the fans on side as well. That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned Swales. I mean, Swales, it was all about him, and his mistake was he wasn't sustainable. You're right, that little organic growth was good. And if he could have just focused on that and maintaining what we had and inching forward, you're right. He went for bust, didn't he? He went for no guts, no glory, and there was plenty of guts and no glory.
Yeah.
And it's Newcastle going to have to, like you say, take stock. If they'd got into the Europa Conference League last season, then I think the expectations would have changed. And it was like City, you start a season and you're expecting a certain position, but then or any club, and you're doing really well, and your expectations quite rightly change. They shouldn't drop back, but Newcastle, it's a long-term project. I think they needed 5 years they have to be consistent. And at the moment, they're not. They've not got enough players, enough squad and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's going to be gradual. Each year, where if they develop the ground, if they get a couple of more new sponsors, and then
that's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure they could get more people in the ground, and I know they're talking about expanding it, aren't they? Doing various things. They say income-wise, that's all part of the plan, and that will help long term. Of course, it'll take a while.
Yeah, you can't even if they get planning permission and everything else. It'll take probably 3
years.
You
don't overcharge. They've not had the problem yet in Newcastle where the fans are saying, "Well, you're pricing us out of it."
Yeah.
They've never had that over the last few years because they've always been reasonably priced. But that will change, and that's when they got to, like ourselves, we're needing the tourists now to fill the seats because the ordinary guy just can't afford to go to the games anymore. And Newcastle have exactly the same problem, so they've got to allow for that as well.
They're going to have that backlash at some point from fans because we've had it at City. I've whinged about it for 5 or 6 years.
And Newcastle, despite the thing, they're not the most loyalist fans in the world. They're not proving it over year after year. They're there now in numbers, but we know what the Newcastle fans are like. They're reactionary, like a lot of local club, City fans like that.
The thing is, what gets me,
not our City, generally City fans.
What gets me with the clubs is actually when you look at someone like City, if you put the season card prices up by 50 quid, let's just say 50 quid a ticket, we've got 40,000 season card holders. Okay. If you put it across the board by 50 quid, you're not making a tremendous amount of money. It's a lot of money. Okay. It's 40,000 times 5, which is it's 2 million quid. It's not huge. And if you charge a bit more for other tickets, you might get 4 or 5 million quid. Okay. In the overall scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. And you're pissing off your fans. That's what City have done. And some City fans have gone by. Like you said, they just said, I can't afford it or whatever. And the tourists, it's a different atmosphere. I'm not nothing against tourists, but they pay more money, they spend more money. And that's what City are about now. It's a business. They're going for that overall experience with the new fan zone. That's going to be massive. They want people to stay at the ground longer. It makes them more money. With the new hotel, with the new arena, all the developments, all the eateries and all places to have a drink. I'd be surprised if there's not a nightclub at some point. Why not? In the hotel, they have a nightclub there. Gets punters. Oh, mate, nightclubs run properly can make a lot of money. So Newcastle maybe got all this to come, but you've got to do it gradually. And you've got to try and not piss the fans off like clubs are doing. Because, as I said, City are making over £700 million turnover. Why are you getting about an extra £1 million from pressing on the hard up fans? Anyway, that's one of my gripes. But I've been going on for years about this, and no one cares until I always say no one cares until it affects them.
Yeah,
no one cared. When I used to say when I tried to engage with the club, no one cared. The fans didn't care. Now they're getting hurt because it's impossible to get away tickets for some games. It's impossible. They're starting off at a ridiculous number of points, double what I've got. A lot of big away games you can't go to. And the ones I could go to 2 or 3 years ago, suddenly I haven't got enough points for them.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I went to Southampton, the Centurion season. I got on my points, I think. I went to Southampton away. Okay. Any game at the end of the season, I can't go to Brighton away now, but I could go to Southampton away. So a lot has changed, and it's a shame. Anyway, let's move on to City now. Couple of questions. KDB played a lot longer than expected. Doku played a lot longer than expected. against Huddersfield. They played basically 30 minutes. They came on with 25 minutes to go. There's 3 minutes of injury time. So basically 30 minutes they played. Can you see either of them starting against Newcastle?
I'm hoping Doku will start. He's more likely, although
I agree.
I'm not 100% sure. My tentative Pep 11, I put Doku in it. I'm hoping he will because I think we need Doku against Newcastle. I can't see KDB starting the game.
Agree again.
At all. So really, obviously everyone else apart from Stonesy and Haaland, of course, I can't see Haaland on the scene at all because he wasn't even in the squad for the last game. So unless something miraculous happens over there, we'll know a bit more, obviously, with Pep's press conference on Friday. But no, I hopefully Doku, but I can't see anything else.
I agree with you with that, Bernard. I'm agreeing with everything you said today.
I think because physically, Doku seems right to me. He seems as he's sort of guy who can bounce back from an injury and get up there very, very quickly.
I think the difference is Doku was out for what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. It wasn't a long injury. KDB's been out since August, September, October, November, December. He's basically been out for 4.5, 5 months. Okay, so I think we're going to treat him with kid gloves. Having said that, if he's got no reaction, I can see him. If he's required, he can come on at half time because he's done 30. He's shown he can do
half time. We're talking Pepe. He don't bring anyone at half time.
Hey, he brought. Who did he bring on?
Yeah, because someone was injured, probably.
Always getting it. But I can see if it's required, KDB could do another 30 minutes, which I think is perfect. He's had a week to recover. It's not as if we're pumping him.
Well, I want to see KDB for 10 minutes when we're winning by 3 or 4 goals. That'll do.
That'd be perfect. But so I can see Doku. I can see starting because he looks like he can play 60, 70 minutes. Doku. I think that right now he could start, and that's how I would do it. I don't want him to come on as an impact player, although he's a great impact player. Start the game, do 60, 70 minutes. If we're ahead, you can bring Jack on. And Doku gets his rest. He plays 60, 70 minutes. That's the way to do it. So that'll be interesting. I don't foresee any surprises. I think we'll go back to the regular team with Kyle Walker there. If Akanji's out, then you've got to play Diaz and Aki and Gvardiol on the left. I know we don't like that. We want Gvardiol in the middle and Aki on the left. Rodri in front of them. Who are you going to play alongside Rodri? That's a question.
Well, Cover's got to come in surely after his reasonable game. Kovacic has got to come in.
Not Rico Lewis?
No.
Okay, I agree with that.
For me, Lewis isn't. He's putting the effort in, but he's not doing the bits I want to see in where Pep's playing him. I think he's far better than where he was initially playing with Pep. For this game, you've got to put Kovacic in there.
You've got Kovacic and Rodri, so you've got 4 more players. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, go on.
Foden.
Yeah.
Doku.
Yeah.
Alvarez.
Yeah.
If he's fit, Bernardo.
That's the ones.
Yeah.
Well, it picks itself, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right because there's nobody else. There's nobody else. It's going to be interesting when KDB does start playing games because who do you drop?
That'll leave on the bench options: KDB, Nunes, Lewis, Bob, Grealish, Gomez, Hamilton, perhaps Haaland if he's ready to get on the bench. But
Phillips,
there are options. Not fantastic, but there are.
You don't even have Calvin Phillips on the bench.
No. What's the point, mate? He's not around, is he? He would have played against the other day, wouldn't he? If anything was going to happen, he's just keeping him in cotton wool till we get rid somehow.
Yeah. Right. We're going to move on very quickly to the final question, as always. Score prediction, Bernard.
It's funny. Well, I don't mind agreeing with Andy Morrison sometimes, but I didn't want to this time for some reason. He said 2-1 for us. So I've gone for your favourite and a steady one, the bookies' favourite usually as well. I've gone for 3-1. I've been brave with this one.
I think in my prediction league, I've gone for 2-1, I think. But I'm going to go with you. Oh, we agree with everything, man. I'm going to go with 3-1. I'm going to go with 3-1.
I'll be happy with 2-0 or 3-0, but 3-1 will have to do.
Yeah, because I think Newcastle are going to offer a little bit more than Huddersfield, a little bit more than a lot of teams that we, Urawa Red Diamonds and Fluminense in the Club World Championship. I think they'll offer a little bit more in the attacking third. I mean, they scored 2 goals against Liverpool. I think they can score against us. I just hope and pray that we can score a bit, at least one.
Alvarez to pop an assist and a goal in at least, and Foden to smack one in.
Alvarez
we'll be all right.
Alvarez to do a lot of running, not show much, and then pop in with a goal or an assist, and then, hey, we're happy. Happy. Bernard, thank you so much. Guys, if you want to follow Bernard, he is at the Citizen channel. You can see his name there, Bernardine. Pop that into YouTube.
Yeah, stick that in Google. If you put the DI, Bernard DI, I'll come up. Otherwise, you get Bernard Manning. But
no difference, is there? Except he's dead. Oh, you feel it, but he is. But Bernardine, there's no one else like him. No one else with that name. You'll find him on you can Google him on YouTube, the Citizen channel. And for City Fan TV, if you can follow us, subscribe to the channel. We've ticked over 20,000, which is bonkers.
I was going to say we've got over 20 now. I know you've
got over 20. It goes over, and then you lose a couple. I don't know why, and then it carries on. So that's doing really well. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bernard, for your help, and everybody else who's over the last few years has helped create content for the channel. There you go. Bernard's going 3-1 City. I'm going 3-1 City. City need to win. Let's hope they do it. Come on, you Blue boys.
Come on, Blues.
And we'll see you round Blues.